Gabe and I are gonna chat here, and we've got a whiteboard to share too. We're gonna basically just have a brainstorming session. This is kind of like that pre-planning stage, and I'd like to, well, one, I'm curious to see what everybody thinks of this. You know, as we at the end, I'd love to hear some feedback on if you liked this session and what you thought about it, and if we should do more like this, because you know, the best things have to be planned before they're implemented, and I think sharing some of that process is a way to, you know, help show like what goes into these features that we create, and how it's not just like, great idea, let me go and hack that up and I'll have that to you by the end of the day, and in a way to involve more people as well. So I hope that this is enjoyable for everybody. So yeah, so schedules.
So I think when talking about schedules, you kind of have to take a step back and say, like, what is the end goal, right? Mm-hmm. Who are we trying to help? What is the functionality? At the end of it, what do you want Owncast to be able to do that it couldn't do before? And what do streamers and their audience be able to do that they couldn't do before, right? So like from super high level, I think that's where you kind of have to start the conversation. And in my mind, it's about engagement and re-engagement. On one hand, saying that there's a schedule is one thing, but using that as a trigger for other things to happen, I think is far more interesting and far more useful, because it's like, okay, well, we have a new tab that's a schedule and it has a table of times on it. Well, that's great, but you know, nobody's going to proactively go and look at this tab every day to see like, oh, has the schedule changed or whatever. Right. Every day, 30 minutes before a scheduled event, send a notification via some channel to a viewer, reminding them that it's coming up. That's far more interesting and far more useful, because it's proactive, and right. It's reaching out and saying, hey, remember me? You know, you like me enough to say that you wanted to know when I'm going to be streaming. Well, I'm going to be streaming.
And let's talk about the parts that are going to be relevant to schedules.
Streamer being able to log into the admin, being able to add their schedule, and then it shows up on the web front end. That is like the bare minimum, even though it's not terribly useful or interesting. So in order to make that happen, we need an admin interface to add events. You're saying things like, you know, every other Wednesday, what does that interface look like? How do we store that? And then how do we display that on the web front end to say, you know, every other Wednesday at 5 o'clock? Time and dates and how people interpret things like that is a very personal thing. And that's why I think most calendars have like 3 different views on it, right? That's like, right. They have a list view, which is just a table full of all their dates, and some people prefer to look at things like that. Some people just want to see what's going on this week. Some people want to see an overview of the month. And I think all of those are completely valid. And all of those, I think, we probably, in the final version, should take into account.
You're saying you need a way to view the calendar, and there should be multiple views, because people look at things differently and will need different ways. I mean, I know for, you know, to speak for myself, you know, just those multiple kind of view options, it depends on how I'm looking at things, right? Is it my, you know, trying to look at what's happening this week, or if I've got something that's reoccurring and I need to look at the month, or just what is happening. Like I would use all of those, you know, views that you described for different purposes, depending on what I need at any given moment. So you need a way to view calendar, and then so I guess you'd want to also edit existing events and add new events. So that's really the big new part, is that we need a new, like just having a scheduler. I'm going to use Kyle as an example here, because he's one person I know that is on a weekly solid schedule, right? So what is it checking for? Is it checking, like, it wouldn't be the event itself, right? Because he goes live and that is that notification post.
Like send out a notification to people saying the stream is starting in X minutes.
And I guess this would be configurable, what do you call it? A reminder, right? That's basically what we're looking at.
And there's a couple other things that I think would be really nice that would also probably kick off at the same time. So right now, chat doesn't start until your stream does.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you had a scheduled event, it would be cool for chat to start just before it. So if people kind of trickle in early, they can, make small talk with people in the chat without the stream actually going live. I think that would be really nice. Also, changing the state of the web UI. Instead of the logo, maybe it's a, countdown or whatever. Because we know what time it's going to start, we can change the visual elements to reflect that.
Right. So my first thought, and I'll apologize again to everybody because I put out a post. We don't have schedules yet, obviously, but I put out a post and said we're going to start at a certain time, and I ran late today. So, I wonder what happens in those cases where, it says event starting and it gets, to the time, and does it just stay into in a perpetual state of like kind of timers run down and it's just starting soon until it does start, or
I think it would be a window where it's like, if it hasn't gone on, if it hasn't changed to a, online true, the stream has started state, it just reverts back to an offline state. So it's kind of like the reverse of what we have right now. Right now, we allow chat to go 5 minutes after a stream ends.
Right.
Just to allow people to say goodbye and say, oh, that was really cool or whatever. And this would just kind of like invert that and allow chat beforehand for some window as well.
Gotcha. And I think it helps the streamer to kind of automate some of those things that, I know some of us do. I've used countdowns for streams, when I am on time. I can get here early enough to start a countdown. So like just kind of having that built in and having that state, that's really nice.
Would be kind of cool is if we added a new embed type of schedule, so people could embed their schedule on their personal pages. So it would just use the same front-end calendar interface that we have on the Owncast side for viewers, but allow people to also put that into other content.
All right, so embed and probably, those same kind of options we have for viewing.
The iCal feed, the ICS file, so then you can subscribe to people's streams in whatever calendar you happen to like, and then, depending on your preferences, you can say, also, remind me when this event comes up, so then you can get a calendar alert on your device of choice.
So one thought I have with this is we've talked about scheduled events. What is your opinion on scheduled posts? Do you think that there's a benefit to having the ability to schedule posts ahead of time? So if I want to send a post out from my Owncast server, because I do think that posts are good. I was really happy when I saw that I can make posts, because I like to just send out updates from the Owncast instance, which I was previously doing through a Pleroma server, just for the engagement, right? I think that engagement alone is a good enough reason alone just to be able to have posts and let people know that you are alive and that things are happening and that there will be streams, and then say like, I want this post to go out on Thursday at 1 p.m.
If you exchange Fediverse post with email, you're almost saying, can we send in newsletters, right? Which is something I would actually like to see. If I got a weekly update from my favorite streamers saying what they've been up to, and it's like, oh, sorry, I haven't been streaming lately because of X, Y, and Z, but I'll be
Right.
back next week.
And if we did have email, I mean, this scheduler, like these scheduled posts, you could have them go out as posts and as newsletters. Like you could kind of take that same content and double it up. And if we did at some point have the ability for Owncast servers to send out emails and do newsletters in that way, then I think this could probably all work into the scheduler as well.
And I would like to see some, out of the box notification channels sooner than later, so we can empower streamers to reach out to more people in different ways. So when we talk about sending a post, it's really just sending a message to all these different channels that are enabled, whether it's a Discord channel or an email or a browser push notification or a Fediverse post, whatever we have wired up. It's just say, hey, these people said they wanted to be notified in these ways. Notify them in those ways.
Excellent. Is there's anything to say about schedules? Go ahead and say it now. Gabe, did you have anything before we transition over to recordings?
I don't believe so.
Awesome. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to talking about VODs and recordings.